Hello everybody, welcome to this video. A quick disclaimer before I start. I actually don't know what I'm doing when it comes to brush lettering, so this video might be actually kind of clickbaity. I apologize, but I will try my best. Please don't judge me, lol. So, moving on, how to calligraphy. I think the best way I can describe it is that your downstrokes are thicker and your upstrokes are thinner, and to achieve this kind of look, it's all about the pressure that you put on the brush. So you obviously lighten up the pressure if you want a thinner stroke, and you put more pressure when you want a thicker downstroke, and that is how you calligraphy. Yeah. So moving on quickly to the pens that I'm using, the very first one I used was the Tombow dual tip brush pen, and I find it's the best balance between a harder tip and a softer tip, and it makes it really easy for beginners to use. So if you want to try brush lettering for the first time, I suggest that one. Again, it's a matter of preference though. I honestly don't really want to suggest something and someone not like it, because it's honestly a matter of preference. I started off with the Tombow one and I really liked it, so that's that. Moving on, this next one is the Tombow Fudo Nesque. This one isn't the Tombow Fudo Nesque brush pen. It's a dupe, but it's basically the same consistency, same everything. And this is the soft tip version, and you will see right after this the hard tip version. And I find the only difference between the two is that the hard tip one is a little easier to control because it's firmer, and your upstrokes can be thinner if you use the hard tip one. But I personally like the way the outcome of the letters look better with the soft tip. It's just a little harder to control. So if you aren't used to brush lettering, then I maybe suggest getting something with a firmer tip. You've probably heard this in so many other calligraphy videos before, but that's what I find as well. Tips on calligraphy, I actually don't have any, because I find calligraphy is just a matter of preference. I don't believe that there's such thing as someone who quote-unquote can do calligraphy and someone who quote-unquote cannot, because everybody has their own style, everyone has their own preferences, so it's not right to say that there's someone who can do calligraphy and someone who can't. It's just a matter of your own style and finding out what you like. So here's just a clip of me writing with a frayed brush tip. This pen is super cheap, so after a few uses it would gone. It's really frayed. I included this clip just to show that you can make do with what you have. If you want to brush letter professionally, don't take this advice, but for everyone else, it's just brush lettering for a hobby. Just, you know, have fun, make do with what you have. Your brushes are going to fray, and that's okay. Don't throw them away. That rhymed. Oh, bars. Okay, I'm sorry. That wasn't planned, I swear. Okay, moving on. I would like to take this time to just apologize for all the NCT inside jokes. I am going through a really emotional NCT phase, lol. And this makes me happy, apparently. If you know nothing about NCT, that's okay. Just don't focus on what it says and look at the lettering for reference, if my lettering can be used as reference. So moving on, when I was younger in Canada, I was taught how to write in cursive, and when I first started brush lettering, I tried writing the letters like how I would do it in my regular cursive writing, and I found immediately that didn't work. With traditional cursive, you don't lift your pen off the paper, and I found that that didn't really work with brush lettering. It looks a lot nicer if you lift your pen off the paper occasionally, I guess. The second thing I learned was the way certain letters are written in traditional cursive doesn't look as good if you try to do it in like kind of brush lettering. That's just my opinion. I know people who brush letter in traditional cursive and it looks really bomb. I just can't do it myself. So letters such as B, such as K, I changed it up. So a quick segment on paper. The paper you use is really important, obviously. I use this notebook. I took notes in this particular one, but the Rhodia paper is really smooth and works really well with brush pens. The next quick segment is just about fountain pens. I don't really have much to say about it. I don't really know much about fountain pens. I know that it depends on the nib, and that's how you determine, I guess, how the pen writes. This particular fountain pen isn't very expensive. It was pretty cheap. I got it online. It has a round nib and it doesn't have thin upstrokes or thick downstrokes. It just writes like a normal pen. The ink flow is super nice. I find it really fun to use. Fountain pens can be used for calligraphy or just normal writing. I don't really use them that often. I included it in this video to show that there are other tools you can use for calligraphy. I am not the expert on this and I cannot tell you how to use it for calligraphy, but it's really fun nonetheless. You can see that I am not very knowledgeable about fountain pens. I am reiterating in this clip that there is not really a difference between upstroke and downstroke. It's actually non-existent. So the ink goes in there. That's a really quick clip of that. So the next clip is me showing you how to do calligraphy if you don't have a brush pen. And this is just faux calligraphy. So write the letters as you normally would with a brush pen or in the cursive that you would like, and then just make the downstrokes thicker. I try to measure it out so that the spaces between letters are still even. And that's basically how you do faux calligraphy. It isn't very hard. I actually started doing this before I got any brush pens. I did this whenever I wanted my letters to look fancy. So the last thing I wanted to say is if you don't have a brush pen, it's okay. Make do with what you have. Calligraphy writing still looks really nice regardless of what kind of tool you use. Here I'm just using a marker, but like if you just do it with pen, it's completely fine too. When you're satisfied with how your calligraphy looks, play around with how you write it, play around with style, play around with orientation. It really is supposed to be fun, not stressful. I'm really bad at this, so I actually don't really do it, but I tried. That's all the pointers I have. I know it's actually not that much and I actually didn't know what I was saying the entire time, but I hope you took something away from this video, and until our next video, I will see you later. Goodbye.